I mean, if you think about the traditional model, like this is a fundamental shift, right? It's a complete transformation in how humans access information. Hello, and welcome to Generation AI, where we demystify artificial intelligence in the world of higher education. I'm your host, Ardis Kadiu, and with me today, my co-host, JC Bonilla. Hey, JC.
Ardis, how are you? Happy Friday. Happy summer day Friday. And it's good to see you, my friend. Welcome back to the US. You've been Caribbean, enjoying beach vibes.
I
Huh?
was in Mexico. I was in Mexico last week, so it was great.
How many bottles of tequila did you smuggle?
I only brought two bottles of tequila back. Actually, really good tequila. I didn't realize there's this tequila called it's I don't know if you're a tequila drinker. Are you a tequila drinker?
I am an mezcal drinker. I
Okay.
really go deep to mezcal, but tequila is something I mix. But say
Yeah.
more. So,
Yeah, so we had this Don Julio tequila. It was an añejo, which is añejo is
mm,
usually an aged in kind of the
correct.
barrels,
Yep.
and it has a color to it. Obviously just like a whiskey or whatever.
It
And
looks like human fluids, by the way. You want to give it the color.
well, this one was clear actually. So this was clear, and I was like, "How is it an añejo? It's clear." But
Oh wow.
it's called Cristalino, which is what they do is they age it and then they filter it afterwards. So it's a lot smoother. So it's a lot smoother.
Hmm.
And this was a Don Julio 70, so the percentage of alcohol is about 35% rather than 40, so it's a little bit less
Super smoother. Oh,
and
I see.
super smooth, like very good drinking tequila. So I brought two of those bottles back. So yeah,
Welcome to Generation AI, where we demystify spirits and AI.
in the world of,
The
I don't
world
know.
of, I don't know. Oh, dude, I'm so happy. Welcome back, and I'm glad that you get to do a little bit of that summer pregame. What do we got going on today? You just said I got this episode. I don't even know what we're talking about today. So, what's happening today in Generation AI?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting episode. So we're going to talk about this content collapse, so to speak, and we're going to dive deep into this really big seismic shift that's happening right now, which is really reshaping how consumers find information, content, search, and it's really threatening the traditional content marketing as we know it, right? And as we start this conversation, as we start talking about this, there's a bunch of news as well that we wanted to catch up on, especially around Grok 4, which has been you know released 2 weeks ago and crowded as the world's most advanced AI model. And also yesterday, ChatGPT Agent's announcement brings together deep research tools and browser automation kind of all in one. And really, these advancing AI agents mean that, look, consumers are spending an increase and are kind of bypassing websites entirely. So it kind of makes sense to kind of wrap those pieces together. And that's kind of where we're going to be talking today, right?
Today's conversation is about content, but where content was king, right? And now you see this emergence of context and a new model emerging. Browser wars, is that also what's happening here? A little bit of this browser wars.
Well, the browser wars, there's been a lot of news around browsers as well, but it's kind of this notion that 61% of Americans are now use AI as their primary information source, and 70% of Google searches end without a single click, meaning that the information they stay in Google or they stay wherever they're finding, and the browser is now one of the places where the big AI labs are making a play for as well, meaning that you're not going to websites anymore. So the browser is getting used as an information retrieval. So you're just sticking on that ChatGPT page, or you're just sticking on kind of this search box, so to speak. So that's really what we're talking about, right? And we're kind of witnessing that, what experts call the great content collapse. And today we're going to unpack that a little bit and kind of why that matters, and what you can do about it, which is really, really important for institutions that are trying to market themselves, for content marketing, websites, where you're going. So it's very, very important. And we're going to approach it from this idea, or what's happening is that agents are becoming, and browsers that support those agents, right, are becoming more and more useful and used, and the consumer behavior is changing towards that. So that's kind of the background and the context around this.
So to connect the dots on your last point, and one of the things we want to do today, talk about drops. So Grok 4, as far as I understand it, is probably one of the most, or the most advanced frontier model, and it has agents at the foundation. So what can you say about Grok 4 so people understand? No frontier model, probably some of the is pushing the performance, but there's a foundational change in how it got built. So what's the TLDR on Grok 4?
Yeah, so if you've been following, so there's three major kind of AI labs. You have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, which the founders of Claude,
Correct.
and you might be using that. But then Gemini, which is Google, so three, and then the fourth one that kind of rose as a closed one and very, very frontier models was XAI, and this is the Elon Musk XAI lab, which is just 2 years old, and they released Grok 3 early in February, and they last week they just released Grok 4. So Grok 4 is basically kind of taking the internet by storm this this past week. And essentially in just 2 weeks they have rocketed to essentially becoming the best model out there. And based on all the benchmarks, Grok 4 has become one of the top models. But it's really interesting because there's a lot of controversy around anything that Elon does, and
Yeah.
with
But
Grok
not
4,
from the not from the Kadui family. Not from the Kadui family. You guys stay loyal.
hey, look, love what Elon is doing with all of his advancements. But in this case, while everybody is talking about Grok and Grok as the app, they introduced kind of this companions, right? And introduced two companions, which is really interesting. Like basically voice mode, advanced voice mode was one of the things that was introduced with Grok and Grok 4. And they introduced two companions, which is Annie, which is a really hot anime blonde, and it talks into it's interesting. It's very seductive and very sexual, and so on and so forth. So it's like you can have a conversation with her through Grok, and that took the internet by storm over the last few days. And then another one called Bad Rudy, which is I don't know if you were familiar before, but another cartoon or style, which is very rude and obviously, as you can imagine, kind of unhinged.
And there was also the experience that Grok had on Twitter X, right? That some people started basically interacting with a highly kind of aggressive, racist type of language. So yeah, but I don't think that's what we want to talk about per se, right? It's
No,
just
no,
that
that's yeah.
it's that these Grok 4, whether it's hallucinating and it's going off rails, right? It's really represents a heavy duty representation of the future of AI through the lens of agents. Just break this to me. What does it mean for an LLM to be agent first in its foundation?
Yeah, so Grok 4 is basically the most advanced reasoning model out there right now, and it was trained by 200,000 GPUs on the Colossus, and reinforcement learning was one of the big things that they did. So regardless of how, what are the other things that are in the market right now, one of the things that they make this really, really interesting is that introduction of Grok 4 heavy, Grok 4 heavy, which really uses what it does. It uses a team of specialized agents working in parallel, then having those agents collaborate to determine the best answer. So it's not just a single AI reasoning and responding to you, but think about like many agents going out there, thinking about the problem or the question that you're giving it, and then coming back and this multiple AI agents are debating, they're researching, and they're defining the responses together. And it's the first time where you're seeing a fundamental model
Right.
kind of do this out of the, out of the box without you actually having to tell it to do all that. And we're seeing agents now embedded at the foundation model level itself, which makes it really, really exciting. And you can see a lot of the benchmarking to kind of understand that a lot of the scores and the answers that are coming back with Grok heavy are very deep. So you can give it these very deep questions, and it will kind of reason through and then give you answers that are much, much more accurate than any reasoning model before.
So basically, what I'm hearing from you on Grok 4, in terms of performance, multi-agent beats single model. And traditionally, frontier models have been on a single model thread, and now what we have is with Grok 4 Heavy, which remind me of machine learning ensembles, like multi-agents in parallel vote for the best answer. Lovely, beautiful.
Exactly. That's pretty cool,
What
right?
about ChatGPT? Yeah, super cool. What about ChatGPT agent? I saw the videos. I haven't touched it or played with it. This is like literally yesterday, right? So, what do we know? It's very cool. It's like deep research and operator have a child, and now you have agent, right?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that was also just recently released, and we wanted to add it to this episode as part of the news because it kind of fits into the theme, is ChatGPT Agent, and
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI literally just dropped this yesterday as we were recording this on Friday, which is, it's essentially they're putting, I don't know if you're familiar with Operator, like with the browser searching AI that or agent that they did. And then they put deep research together. So it has deep research capabilities. It has the access to different tools. It also has access to the operator to the browser. So essentially, it kind of really connects all those pieces. It connects all those pieces together, and it's very, very powerful. It's powerful because it can, whereas before it uses text, deep research uses text and provides you with a report. Now it combines deep research. It can use text, but also if it finds a website where it needs to jump in and use the browser, it can log into that browser. It can do work, but then it can also use the terminal. It can use tools to create a PowerPoint presentation, for example, to create a spreadsheet. So ChatGPT Agent combines all those different tools together to essentially do a task that is much more complex than what you could give deep research or what you can give operator or what you can give, just regular ChatGPT. So bringing all those tools together into one place. And we're I just got access to it last night because I have the pro version of ChatGPT, or the pro or max. I'm not really sure what they're calling it, but it's going to be rolled out to everybody else over the next couple of weeks. And I haven't really tested it yet, but looking at X and looking at a lot of the feedback, this enables a lot of workflows that just weren't possible before, right? A lot of workflows that deep research was just getting the information, but he was not able to act on that information. Now you can think about, all kinds of use cases that open up with it.
You know that I've been talking a lot about work of the shift of agentic from just thinking about workflow coverage. I think that's where he's at. And many of us who are moving in this direction, we understand agents, but it's the orchestration and with the workflow really wins. So I really like what ChatGPT agent should be doing here. It uses deep research. Fantastic use case, terminal access with autonomous browsing in one virtual machine. That's really powerful because, to my point, it's workflow coverage, right? And AI power workflows looks like that. So excited. Let me know when you test drive it. Love to see how you go from a deep research project to let's say an articulation of the new deck for the board or something like that. So we'll see. Cool.
Yeah, and this is an area where we're gonna probably come back and do another episode or so around ChatGPT Agent, because for a lot of people, this is, you know, the use cases can be a little bit hidden. So we need to go a little bit deeper and kind of bring those back. It also, for if you read the announcement that they put together, you actually see that they've actually trained a whole new model around this. So the models that are getting trained right now, including Grok 4, including the ChatGPT agent, the models that are powering ChatGPT agent has to be trained on this reinforcement learning around tool usage, right? So these are models are moving towards being trained for tool usage, and that's what's going to make them agentic. You know what I mean? Like that's what putting the agentic first. So you can almost call this GPT-5 or O4, for example, right? This is a brand new model that's powering this because he has to work with all those tools, and you can see on the benchmarks that it's almost a new model. So both Grok 4 Heavy and the new ChatGPT Agent model that's powering ChatGPT Agent model are very powerful, and we're going to have to kind of play around with them, but everything is moving towards a place where if AI is searching all these websites and you can log in and do all the work and grab screenshots and do all this work, like why the hell would a consumer go to that website? Why the hell would a student go to that website? And how valuable is your content, right? And that's really brings us to the main topic of this conversation today, right? Which is as this AI agents become more capable, consumers are fundamentally changing how they consume information and how they interact with your websites. And that's really creating what we're calling the great content collapse, right? And that's really where we're going to start kind of diving in and then discussing this, right? Understanding what exactly does that mean.
And artists, the numbers on the shift are incredible. Like if we just sort of got it right, framework mental model is these new agentic work streams are capable of doing things differently. As such, we consumers tend to consume producing information differently, and the numbers backing that up were just mind blowing. Can we cover some of these stats on your research on consumer AI adoption and how it's exploding?
Yeah, I mean, look, this probably not new because we talk a lot about these numbers, but 61% of American adults have used AI tools in the last 6 months. Nearly 1 in 5 rely on it daily. This number is probably a lot higher today. So that's about 600 million daily users globally, right? It's not just here in the US. ChatGPT alone, like they have 800 million users to a billion weekly active users. 800 was old, right? It was just a month and a half ago. Now they're closer to a billion weekly active users. And when you think about 77% of Americans now use ChatGPT as a search engine, with Gen Z leading that, right? So it's crazy. Think about it. 70% of people use it as a search engine. And we see it ourselves. Like I don't go to Google anymore. It's like we've completely changed our, how we do this. Now, when you think about the traffic collapse here, it's already here, right? So the traffic to your websites has already collapsed. We're seeing it in our own metrics, and we're seeing it in our own kind of Google Search Console and so on and so forth. But 65 to 70% of Google searches now end without a single click. Can you imagine that you're going to Google to find something, and like 70% of the time you're not even clicking on anything, because if it's Google AI overviews or the information that they bring together for you now with AI mode, like that number is probably even higher today.
The disruption to the to the business model is catastrophic, right? Because when basically 7 out of 10 searches end up without a click, what that indicates is that the 7 clicks did not bring in the dollars and cents that the business model needs to power better indexing, searchability, our tools, free tools from Gmail to, I don't know, whatever we use as consumers. It's very interesting. So fascinating stat, and no wonder the content strategy has collapsed. These numbers are staggering.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the traditional model, like this is a fundamental shift, right? Into it's a complete transformation in how humans access information. We've talked about this before. We talked about this a year ago when we talked about the AI overviews and so on, like how SEO is going to change. well, it's here today, and now we have some real numbers. Like, so the traditional model was question, you do some search, you click, you read some content, you get your answer, right? So you have to go somewhere. You have to click something, you have to read, you have to get your answer. Now the new model is you have a question, and you have an AI agent, instant answer. It's like wow, it's like shortened so fast. And of course, so the middle steps of your website, your content, your ads, they're completely being removed from the equation, right? So it's like, and then when you think about the economic reality of this, is that Google today is their scraping ratio has deteriorated. This is a really, really important number. So keep this in mind, right? The scraping ratio means that they scrape 2 pages, right? So the amount of pages that they scrape to the amount of traffic they sent to you. So if they scraped 2 pages a decade ago, it was 2 to 1. They scraped 2 pages from your website, they send you one person to your website. Today it's 18 to 1, right? So from Google, it's 18 to 1. It's actually in the last 6 months it was 18 to 1. Now it's even, I believe it was even higher, like 150 to 1 today after they introduced AI overviews and so on. Like that's even changed. But think about it this way: when you look at ChatGPT, because ChatGPT also has answers, it's 1,500 to 1 ratio. So ChatGPT scrapes your website, scrapes 1,500 pages, and only sends one person or one click back to those visitors. And that number is even higher for Anthropic and so on and so. So it's crazy the amount of like the closed bubble that people are staying where these agents are. They're not going to your website.
So this the proportion of the expansion of these ratios, like we're going from 2 to 1 to just a few decades ago to 1,500 to 1. Search is has become this idea. I would say answer as a service, right? So, but as a consumer, so what is happening, right? It's as we think about the collapse of content, right? My data, right? It's free training data, right? Your blog, your data entry somewhere else has become some type of training data. So it's a really interesting change in monetization and the business value that for us to generate the outcome of the person that moves in, this computational power is thrown at it. It is ingesting thousands of more things to generate that one outcome.
But remember that this is not about training data. This is about real live data, because all of these AI agents and AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Google, like they're essentially, when you ask it a question, they now have a tool they're using. Remember, these agents are using tools, and it's going out on the web and searching and finding information. So they, behind the scenes, they're scraping your web in real time. They're scraping it just like Google is scraping it, but they're using it for real time. So it's not about the training data, it's about the content, and the what they're doing is RAG, basically. It's like a retrieval augmented generation. So you ask it a question, it breaks that down, it understands where, and it kind of uses its search index to pull all the information, to go in real time to scrape your website if it doesn't have it in the index, and then it's providing the answer to the user. So it's still using your content and your website. It's not about the training data, because remember, these are reasoning models. It's no longer about like when was the information cutoff date, because it has a real feed to the information because of that search. Does that make sense? So it's a very
Yeah.
different
Okay.
model. It's not
Yeah.
it's not about the training data anymore. It's about like the real access to that index.
So yeah, it totally makes sense. And I guess what I'm now taking away is the reason why this is happening is because consumer behavior is driving this change, right? And the economics realities, these things we just went through, is the actual output of a new style of me, the consumer, going for these information flows.
Exactly. And when you think about it, is like the things that you try to do when you go to Google is like, yes, search tool, like you do some search for an answer, but then also you're doing like product recommendation, or you know what I mean? Like you're searching for shopping. So if you're doing a product recommendation, or like you're saying, okay, what tool is better, this or this, or you're doing product recommendation around programs. You know what I mean? Like if you're searching for program X versus program Y, or major X or school X versus school Y, like you're going in and you're doing that search now in the LLMs, or you're doing that search in the chatbots, or these agents. You're not doing it on Google anymore, and you're not going into those individual pages. So the consumer behavior is completely driving this. So like it matters a lot, right? Because now you need to your product better be on ChatGPT. Otherwise, like your school or your program or whatever, it doesn't appear anywhere. So the student is not even gonna see your website for you to make an effect on them. So that's what we're gonna kind of drive a little bit today as well. It's like, what's the scope of the disruption, right?
All right, makes sense. So this is not slowing down, artists. Like literally, it's just gonna get faster as we know it.
Mhm.
Where is this all heading? Like, can we just bring the conversation about where the trend is heading, and where do we see this going? The scope of this, in a way.
So we're going to throw more numbers at you, right? So if you look at the from this kind of so you think about, you talked about search engines and browser displacement, moving towards AI. So Gartner predicts traditional search engine volume drops by 25% by next year. I think that number is way low, right?
It should be already 20. It should be already 20% basically now, as we know it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and
I
that's going to
I
drop
I don't know if I
even
told
more.
you. I switched my browsing to ChatGPT. There's an actual extension in Chrome that defaults to my ChatGPT instance, so I can, and I think defaults to 4.4. Is it 4.5? I think that's the one it lands to. But anyway,
Hmm.
it's already transitioned.
Yeah, and the part that's interesting is also, if like, even if you go to Google and Google's AI mode, because you can measure that, only about 4.5% of the sessions result in a click. Whereas the traditional one, remember, it was around 25% or 30%, because 70% of it was on Google. Like it wasn't resulting in a click. I mean, that's a big shift, right? And also AI results generate 6 times more searches per day, but 60% fewer click-throughs. So it's crazy, right? So it's like you're a lot more volume. People are using AI searches a lot more, but they're going to the sources a lot less. And then when you think about brand visibility crisis as well, 26% of brands have zero mentions on AI overviews. Like this is a generic number, but think about it that way. Think about it. Like when you're on AI overviews and you were searching for a brand, or you're searching for something, like you don't come up on AI overviews, you're lost. Whereas before, maybe you had a chance if you were like the third or fourth link down. Now, if you're not in the AI overviews, like you just don't exist anymore. So only brands with the strongest web presences get meaningful AI visibility.
This is such a tilted race for brands. You know,
Yeah.
just to recap a bit of the compounding effect that you're talking about here. So, second effect is brands are not being mentioned on AI overviews, right? So they're being left out. Coupled by the past 5 years of organic content, social media, basically taking people out of TVs, out of the traditional place where brand lived, and all of a sudden, like what you have is, if you want to be recalled as a product, as a brand, if you want to create a stickiness, awareness, loyalty, Jesus, how do you do that? So the dollar and cent that the brand had to do its visibility work, where is that going to be working? That's a fascinating topic. But I just wanted to, because of course, the work that I did in the past years. Holy crap, that's hard work. It's so hard, so hard.
Yeah. I mean, look, consumer brands, like if you think about the shopping like agents in shopping right now are probably like every AI agent demo has some kind of shopping demo component as part of it. It's like, well, I want to find this thing. It's like, let's use an agent to go find it. And actually, consumers like they're using AI agents to do the shopping. 61% say that they're using some kind of AI tools to help them shop online, which is crazy, right? And and about 40% of people they discover products through ChatGPT. Like we're seeing it internally too. Like when we talk to our sales team or whatever, and they're like, "Well, let's just, I'm just going to do a quick, ChatGPT search on this competitor," and I'm like, "Wait a minute! Like that's an interesting thought process that we're using ChatGPT as a discovery engine for products to discover products. It's crazy."
And not only is it's crazy to points how different it is and how actionable and automated it can be. So how different it is when we did this through traditional search, what it does, it links to this, blue link, and it takes me to the brand presence that is an artifact that is curated to how the brand or the product wanted to message me because it was their own website. The colors, the style, they dominated and control that. Now what happens is that the branded product is represented in the way that the LLM thinks it should be represented. That's fascinating. The last part that, that I not only I don't care is that maybe I can trigger off the operator. So going back to ChatGPT agent. So when I found it, go ahead and buy it. So
Go ahead and buy it.
I
Exactly.
I never knew what you look like. I don't know where you come from. I have no product brand affinity. My gosh, it's becoming as automated it becomes, it's very transactional in product and brand. It's going to struggle with that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like when as marketers, we care about the attribution. It's like, well, where do I put more money? What channel do I go to put more money in? It's
It's the
like
business model that is changing. Yeah, with
the
this.
attribution
Yeah,
just completely breaks down. It's like your
attribution,
traditional
search engine
SEO.
optimization, traditional search,
Exactly.
all those like the
Yeah.
billions of
Yeah.
dollars that are moving there. By the way, you know where they're going? It being shifted here to these, AI powered browsers and this whole content collapse.
Exactly. Exactly. So the whole content marketing ROI is essentially collapsing. Like we don't like it's crazy, right? And that's what we're thinking. Like if this trend continues and all these indicators suggest that it will accelerate, like what does this future look like?
I'm excited. First of all, I'm excited because it rides on a reality of the consumer and the attention of the consumer is where it's at. So let's unpack this. But I first start with the end of the click-based economy. That's good, artists. That's good for all of us. Unpack that.
Well, so it feels like an end of an era, right? It's like
Of course.
it's the entire digital economy has been built around this assumption that valuable content drives traffic and traffic generates revenue through ads or conversions and that revenue funds more content creation.
Oh
So
my
so
gosh,
this
I feel like I'm back in Vayner with these conversations. What's happened? Did I go back 3 years ago?
I know. But agents break the cycle, right? They break the
They do.
cycle. So discovery now happens in AI interfaces. So there's no longer you don't have to go to the websites. Research is conducted by AI agents. They compare things together. You don't have to have this thing. So there's no human visitors anymore. And then purchase decisions are just purely AI recommendations, right? They're influenced by what the AI recommends at that time. So it's not the marketing content, it's the AI who's recommending it. So it just completely changes.
So what does this mean? E-commerce, right? Immediately product discovery. Think about e-commerce of, where your product ranks. Do I show you the picture, the lookalikes, all that? It's through an AI conversation, reviews, comparison, synthesization of information, brand differentiation, gone as we know it, and now emerges through the lens of AI.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Exactly. Like the review and the comparisons are being synthesized by AI. When you think about from the media publishers, like we have in Rollify here at Element as well, it's like like they're just extracting the value. So if you write an article for what's the best way to market to graduate programs for health and sciences, right? And there you have an expert in there. Well, you can now ChatGPT can synthesize that and extracts the value from your content, and it doesn't even give you a reference or back. It doesn't even give you credit for it because your brand doesn't come through. So it doesn't drive readership for you. It just synthesizes all that stuff. Subscription models are threatened as well because AI provides these summaries and insights. So you no longer have to go to like a website to read or synthesize or to what I mean. Like the subscription model kind of goes away in some senses, and then original reporting becomes, I don't know, like the training data on the original reporting. Like we're seeing the idea of New York Times suing OpenAI and so on and so forth. But
for the content. Yeah.
yeah, but we're also, what we're seeing is Cloudflare. Like a lot of the numbers that we got today around the how many pages Google scrapes in order to send you traffic, that was coming from a Cloudflare CEO talk a couple of weeks ago, and that's kind of what drove this episode. And essentially, what Cloudflare is doing, they're like, hey, we have a new product now that we're blocking all the traffic from LLMs to your website. So they have to pay for that in order to access it. So if you're driving original content, then you can now monetize that as well, right? So this monetization of original content is coming, but it's not quite there yet. So that business model of it is evolving as well.
And what about mom and pop's pizza shops, like these businesses that use the search model to bring in the 50 customers I needed to buy my pizza, or the local deli or the supermarket, the restaurant, like the service business is also going to be impacted here, right? So that has connotations at every level.
Yeah, so imagine this, right? It's like when you go in and you're a tourist is coming in, and before that tourist would go into Google Maps or whatever and say, "Hey, I want this type of restaurant," and you have your links and it comes
Yeah,
up
geolocation, right?
and geolocation and things like that. Well, now people do their research ahead of time. They're like, "Give me the best restaurants or give me an itinerary or what I should do, blah blah blah," and it's pulling in the brands and the basically the brands that are they're optimized, or the ones that are top brands. They now have a 10 time ratio of visibility to the second nearest or third nearest, right? So the gap is widening because this AI agents and AI tools they're only returning one. They're not saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you the best restaurant for tonight, and then here's the second version, or here's the third one." It's like, no, no, no. They're only giving you one as part of your itinerary or restaurant you should go to. It's not like Google where you're searching and you're seeing option 2 or option 3 or option 4. So the interface is completely changing, right? And it's really cool because, well, I mean, it's not cool, but it's really good for the consumer because you don't have to do all that work, but it's really bad for what you just talked about. It's really bad for the number 2 pizza or number 3 pizza place because they're never going to come up for the user. Only the number 1, pizza place is going to come up and drive them even further up, right? Which is crazy.
So super synthesized, because I think we should be moving to, all right, where is this going? But if AI cannot cite you, it cannot sell you. That's I would say the super synthesis of, I believe, what we've been talking about. So
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about kind of the trends that are, or this kind of immediate predictions, right? 6 months and then 6 to 12 months. Like, does that make sense?
yeah, good luck doing 6 to 12 months. But I would believe you in the short term, immediate predictions. It's just hard, everybody. Like, this is very hard. We know that we're predicting with information that we have today, and yesterday we have agents showing up at us, right? So
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? Well, I mean, look, Google is still the dominant player, and Google AI mode, which is a full AI mode, they're going to move beyond experimental, or like what's happening over the next 6 months, right? They're moving beyond the experimental phase, and that's going to be the default search experience. So you're no longer going to have those blue links anymore.
but prediction to an immediate ChatGPT, it's eating their lunch as a search and in grabbing traffic and taking users away from it, isn't it? You don't think ChatGPT it's taking search audience for in eyeballs out of Google?
Google says that no, their search traffic has not, like their traffic has not dipped. It's just going to switch, right? There, more and more of it is going to AI overviews, but it's not dipped. That's what they're saying. Now, of course, we see it every day that yes, it's, of course, it's going away.
So with the pause you're telling me based on these predictions,
Not in the
data
6 months.
suggest.
And then
Yeah, okay,
in the
got
next
it, got it.
6 months, but it doesn't matter because you still need to Google AI mode will still be the will move as the primary source. Search and shopping ads in AI overviews, like expanding to that, they're going to start to figure out how to do ads in AI overviews over the next 6 months. They're going to need to do that. You're already seeing it, for example, with Perplexity. You're already seeing it a little bit with ChatGPT, like where they introduce search, product search, or buying or shopping as well. And then specialized AI ecosystems will kind of come up. That's probably one of the areas that we're going to see. Maybe Perplexity does it for, like, how they do finance right
Mm-hmm,
now. They
mm-hmm,
focus
mm-hmm.
specifically on finance. You're probably going to see a lot more of those, or travel. Yeah. So that's gonna become really, really
And
important.
by the way, AI thrives with hyper context, and this is going to be really good for us consumers because when it's in the ecosystem of healthcare versus education, it would be better in context, less hallucinations, and just better overall.
Exactly, exactly. And you're already seeing it with ChatGPT agents. This is no prediction. Actually, it came true yesterday, but the agents, every major platform will integrate AI agents as the primary user interface, right? So, we've been talking about this for a long time now, but medium term outlook, when you think about, 6 to 12 months, AI agents become the primary gateway for all information discovery. Like, I can see a world where our website now is completely agent first. It doesn't, we're going to see the ChatGPT agent being used more and more. So, you don't really need a person to click buttons anymore, right? That agent can do all that stuff. Conversational AI can deliver more kind of this rich SEO, this rich interfaces, and then SEO becomes completely irrelevant in the next 6 to 12 months, like, or to the traditional way, the way we think about it.
Yeah. How do I prepare artists? Do you have a POV of, I guess, for all the reasons in myself, right? How do I prepare for these? Like, there's an aspect of adapting, I believe, and we also, unlike minute 45, everybody. So I don't know when you edit this what it's going to look like, but how do I prepare for these things? How do I adapt to an AI first world where the content ecosystem has changed?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is an interesting area, right? And of course, a lot of people will say, well, whatever you did for SEO, you just got to do that same thing again. And now we've switched from what they're calling it generative engine optimization, right? So the new SEO is optimizing for AI systems and not necessarily search engines. So implement things like comprehensive, like schema markups for AI systems, because AI will search your website, but it's looking for structured information. Not very different, but this is becoming more and more relevant. Things like events and things like your content and articles and things like that. So implement those schema markups for your website. Structure content with clear question-based headings that AI can easily parse. So think about like how you ask a question in ChatGPT, and then it's always about a question, right? So when you're on your content, think about it that way. Structure it with kind of this question-based stuff. And what's acting really, really well, what's doing really well, is a lot of FAQs, building a lot. Remember that we told people like, oh, don't put FAQs on our website. Now they're coming back because it's
FAQs are
all about
back.
like exactly, exactly. So create answer focused content architecture that serves AI training needs, right? If you think about like the overarching picture, think about what you're typing in ChatGPT, and then building pages that contain all of that information around this answer focused content. It's like, what's the best program for X and Y? Why is this thing different than this? Or comparison pages that go deep into content. I think that like going deep is going to be super important because your page is going to be referenced a lot more, and building those pages with your brand in it rather than generic. Like they need to have your brand because the stuff is not coming back. People are not coming back to your site, so you need to inject your brand or your program names or people or whatever it is within your content as well. So that's going to be super super important.
Brand visibility in AI systems. I can just see the whole service starting to come from, when you ask an agency, give me my brand style guide. So this is going to be for AI systems, of course. I like that. What else?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean when you think about brand visibility anymore, you're not going to talk about keywords, but you're going to monitor kind of use case scenarios.
Yes, of
You know what
course.
I mean? Like you're going to monitor. So keywords are basically dead. Nobody's doing keywords anymore. It's going to be like, do I come up when people search what is the best restaurant in New York City for Y and Z, right? What is the best CRM? What is the best X? Or what is, you know, so those are the things that you're going to need to monitor now. Those are different.
Let me creep in an optimization that probably is going to take place here. Brands do exercise some leverage. They have dollars and cents, and
Yeah.
frontier labs and whatnot would probably like to chase those. So brand safety, it's a whole thing in social media networks, as you know. Like, how do I show up? And this is why X is not getting a lot of dollars and cents from brands, whatever.
Yeah.
So this brand safety in AI systems is probably going to become a thing. So starting to understand that language is probably going to be one of the optimizations we could see happen very soon.
And those are just immediate stuff. But then when you think about content strategy evolution, like you have to think multi-platform, right? Like multi-platform, you got to develop yeah, it's super hard, right? You got to develop content specifically designed for AI citations. You got to create comprehensive topics, right, that address this kind of consumer journey and then how the AI interacts with it. Of course, you got to think about thought leadership, but in a way that it kind of relates back to your brand. You got to build authority that we talked about, right? So that's really important. So it's got to be multi-platform. We got to start thinking about the traditional metrics got to change now. So new success metrics are going to be around AI citations frequency versus how many clicks am I getting back, right? So it's like impressions or citations frequency versus I don't really right now there's different companies that are coming up with, for example, this company called XFunnel. What they do is they look for your brand or different topics or questions around your brand, and then they go in and they do hundreds or thousands of searches or queries against all of the the AIs, and then they come back and say, hey, here's the citations for your brand throughout all of these different categories or questions that somebody could have asked. Here's the things that you can do better. Here's the content that you can build. So those are it's a very different way of thinking about it, right? Rather than, the metric of clicks to your website. Does that make sense?
Yep. I mean, it's totally falling, right?
Yeah. When you think about it, right? Like there's a competitive advantage to this. Like, so there's this first mover benefit that we have today. If you're listening to this and you're saying, "Oh boy, this is a lot," right? There's a benefit by you moving really quick, and those organizations they can optimize for AI systems now. There, you're seeing that you're going to gain the disproportionate visibility in AI responses. We talked about 10x plus in terms of responses. You can have stronger brand association in your AI recommendations. Think about it this way: like you're going to come up first, so customer acquisition, like that student is going to look at maybe one or two top things, and then it becomes a competitive moat as well because you're building the content and that's coming up multiple times in the LLM, and it's going to be very difficult to displace you from that first answer, right? Does it make sense?
Of course, it's a reality check, right? Or does not only make sense. This is happening right now. What's the stat? 60% of the content in Google it's unclickable. So the collapse of content is a collapse on clicks. But these new models are changing the way we do things. So I'm excited about the path forward, and I'm excited about how some of these techniques that had their days, CEO, traditional SEO, marketing approaches, you know, like everything will be sunsetted. Radio was king for a long time. TV was king for a long time, and they're not today. So it's not the end of the world. This reality check also, as overwhelming it could be, it's for me, is companies adapting. And what I like in your first mover last point is I can react to this AI mediated economy today, right? So, is there anything kind of hidden there in these opportunities that you kind of see as we try to close?
Yeah, I mean, look, it this actually amplifies the things that we've always talked around content and content value.
Yes, that's true.
So, quality or authoritative content becomes exponentially more valuable when AI systems trust it and cite it, right? So it becomes really, really important. Think about it this way. There's this paper that was put together of a pilot done in the Georgia system, University
Hmm.
System of Georgia, on chatbots and their effect on student success. Now, this is old. This is a few years old, like maybe 5 years old or whatever. This is like chatbots 1.0. But every time that you ask about this, and it brings up that paper because that's in archive or wherever. So it's like becoming authoritative. So the sources become cited over and over again, and they become the one that kind of influence. So think about it that way, right? So early adopters will gain massive competitive advantages, and then the collapse of traditional competition creates really an opening for this, like, if you feel like you were doing the same thing over and over before and the playbook was the same and you're like, oh man, I just got to produce more content and this SEO game and things are going to scale linearly. Now everything is erased, and it gives a huge opportunity for you to come in and say, oh shit, now I can make a bigger difference a lot faster because nobody has it figured out, right?
Nobody has it figured out, but I mean, I can think of a few, but three things I should be doing today to kind of bring this home and operationalize in this emerging collapse of content.
Yeah. Yeah, I look, the first thing that you should do is actually just do an audit. Like, audit how your brand appears in AI responses. You can do that across ChatGPT, Claude, Google AI overviews, and there's a bunch of tools out there that you can use. We just mentioned Xfunnel as being one of them, but there's a whole bunch of them that are coming up that are becoming a little bit. And then once you do that, then structure your highest value content for AI optimization. So go to your highest value content right now, the things that you do and you manage, and start optimizing them for AI. Go deeper, add more brand references, structure the schemas, change the titles to questions, add more FAQs, like all the things that we just talked about before, and start to produce more media stuff. Because when AI, like when you're competing with AI, it's all text based right now, but the channels and the places where eyeballs are coming to are in YouTube as well. So they're moving away from Google searches, they're going to YouTube, right? That's where you can influence. So your content strategy is still very relevant in YouTube. It's still very relevant in social with TikTok and and all this feed based media based. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can do that as well. But that's your strategy, right? It's like if you can't compete with Google and SEO, try to compete into the new media and video world with streams and social in there as well. I mean, those are the big things, right? And of course, you got to start somewhere. So start thinking about AI citations for your brand, keep track of those key metrics, and develop. I don't know. I would start right now and develop this 90-day plan, right? Start with 90 days first, and then who
Yes.
knows what's going to happen after that.
Artist, it's been fascinating. Always love a data-rich, stat-rich episode and show. Also, a fun episode because it puts us on the application of AI in content marketing. So always appreciate flexing our muscles there. It takes us back to things that you and I have done in the past. But this is not about the death of content as it is. It's about the rebirth, I would say, of something more around context. And we have something about context engineering coming up. The games change, and one of the things that I used to keep as a metric of success in content is like how much you publish is how much you win, but now is how your content trains the models and how all these is no longer about the great stories that you write, but how structured your stories could be, and it's made for AI systems. And this is all what we know is happening like right now, 6 months, and more to come, right? So incredible. First mover advantage, everybody, and start today with your 90 days, as Ardis said. Ardis, you want to close up?
Till next time, everyone. Generation AI is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you're going to like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing weekly, and we've got a wide range of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that's helping institutions all over the country create meaningful, personalized, and engaging connections with their prospects and students. Learn more at element451.com.